All right, we're gonna watch Johnny Appleseed from Walt Disney. It's a short film. I think it originally was part of Melody Time, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% certain of this, but this is from American Legends Volume 1, Disney Films, Johnny Appleseed. This is actually a favorite of mine. I really like it.
On the pages of American folklore, a legion of mighty men have left the symbols of their greatness. There was Paul Bunyan's
Paul Bunyan didn't exist.
axe, John Henry's hammer,
John Henry probably didn't exist.
Davy Crockett's rifle,
Don't think he existed either.
and then, quite unexpectedly, one comes upon a tin pot hat, a bag of apple seed, and a holy book.
Johnny Appleseed did exist. I've been to his grave. It's in Fort Wayne, Indiana. There's a park there.
Every time I see an apple blossom sky, I think of Johnny Appleseed. Of course, them clouds up there, they ain't really clouds at all. No, sir. Why, shucks, there wouldn't be no apple blossom sky if it weren't for the fact that Johnny... But now, hold on.
That's also not true. The apple blossom sky has nothing to do with Johnny Appleseed. This is highly mythologized.
The Lord is good to me, and so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and rain and an apple seed. Yes, He's been good to me.
So that song, "The Lord is good to me, and so I thank the Lord," that is actually a very commonly used table grace at a lot of camps. And it came from this movie. So you got young Johnny Appleseed with his ponytail there, collecting apples off his trees in Pittsburgh.
I owe the Lord so much for everything I see. I'm certain if it weren't for Him, there'd be no apples on this limb. He's been good to me. Oh, here am I, the blue, blue sky, a-doing as I please, singing with my feathered friends, calling with the bees. I wake up every day as happy as can be, because I know that with His care my apple trees, they will soon be there. Oh, the Lord is good to me.
That's really not how you harvest apples, but we'll give it a pass.
Working, singing, carefree and gay.
Also, managing an apple orchard is a lot of work. It's not carefree and gay.
Poor Johnny. He warn't no pioneer, and he knowed it. It was all just for ten. And them folks going west to build this nation sure made picking apples look like a plumb useless occupation.
They were going west to build this nation. I don't know. I think picking apples in Pittsburgh is pretty nice. Nothing wrong with that.
Just think, Johnny, of all the things that apples make. There's apple pickles.
Apple pickles. Apples are very useful fruit and they make a lot of things.
And for folks to wet their whistle, tangy apple cider.
Apple cider's good. Actually, like at the time that Johnny Appleseed was like active, most apples would be consumed as cider or as distilled liquor of some kind, because apples tended not to be quite as sweet as they are today.
Here's a mighty handy bonnet. Even got a handle on it. Turn it upside down and you can cook. So, come on, son, and get it going. Get them apple trees a-growing. There's a lot of work out there to do. Oh, there's a lot of work to do.
So that image of Johnny wearing the tin pot on his head, I think that's a traditional one. I think that predates this. And of course he's carrying a Bible. Johnny Appleseed was a Swedenborgian. A lot of people don't know that about him. That's kind of a, it's a religious tradition within Christianity that's It's a little bit outside of the mainstream. I don't know a whole lot about the Swedenborgians, but Johnny Appleseed was one. And they had some kind of unique ideas. But of course, Johnny Appleseed was very committed to his religious principles and was, as far as I understand, a pretty faithful reader of the scriptures and things. And he was also, he had some interesting ideas about nature. Like, he planted his apple seeds from seed, which most, people who run orchards, they don't do, because you don't know what kind of fruit you're going to get. Some apples are barely edible and some are really good. So, and also you end up with these enormous trees as opposed to the trees grafted on dwarf rootstock that that a lot of us are used to in managed orchards. So Johnny's, but his, I understand that he had a huge impact on sort of the diversity of apples within the Midwest in Indiana and Ohio. But I don't know a whole lot about it. I mean, this is just what I've heard secondhand. Johnny's crossing the Black Swamp, I guess.
Fearsome critters on every side. Johnny just kept walking on.
Are those panthers? There are no panthers in Ohio. I guess there were mountain lions. Huh. I guess he's usually depicted as barefoot. I wonder if that was true. I think it might be, but man, can you imagine walking from Pittsburgh to like Western Ohio with no shoes?
Without no gun.
The mountain lion is being all nice to him. In reality, if you saw a mountain lion, you would try to stay away.
John was planting more than an apple tree. He was planting his own boundless faith and courage, too.
I'm pretty sure that he actually sold or gave away a lot of apple saplings. It wasn't just like he did have a home base several times, although he was a bit nomadic. I don't know. I have to learn more about it. I learned this stuff before. I always forget the details. It's interesting how, like, faith is dealt with in such an abstract way in this film. Like, Johnny Appleseed, as I said, was a Swedenborgian, which has always been a really kind of minor tradition within Christianity that's quite a ways outside of, like, the mainstream of Protestant thought. Which, and I'm not intending to be critical of the Swedenborgians when I say that, because there definitely is a strain of Swedenborgian tradition that I resonate with in terms of its, concern for creation and things like that. What I think is interesting is that, like, we talk about Johnny Appleseed as he's this kind of hero of the faith in this kind of abstract way, yet there are not very many people who are members of the same, or part of the same religious tradition that he is. How influential was Johnny Appleseed as a Swedenborgian thinker? I don't know. I mean, I won't say that he had no influence. He clearly had some. But it may be that his influence was more on adherence of other traditions than it was on actually attracting people to Swedenborgianism.
More and more pioneers come to push back the forest.
As though pushing back the forest were a good thing. I'm not convinced of that, but whatever.
Now, duck for the apple core in a row. Thank you, son. Corners go. Apple core.
Apple Core, Baltimore. Donald Duck fans will know what I'm talking about.
Yep, Johnny did bring folks a heap of happiness. Shucks, he weren't looking for thanks. Didn't have time for it. He knowed a man can't take no rest if he aims to plant the whole darn wilderness in apple trees.
That's a pretty big job, planting the whole wilderness with apple trees. As I said, highly mythologized. I don't know. It's kind of a cool myth, though, I guess.